Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare
Shiva Jaya Jaya Gaura Chande Aroli Kesoka Danavi Tatavani Gajamanalopa
Rama Rama.
Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanajari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Shri Radha Madhava ki Jai Shri Radha Gokulananda Bhagavan ki Jai Sitaram Lakshmana Hanuman ki Shri Gaurnitai ki Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Hare Krishna, everyone. So, reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, text 3. Please repeat after me. Geya sanitya sanyasi yo na dveshti na kankshati nirdvandvo hi mahabaho sukhang bandhat pramuchyate. Geya sa nitya sanyasi yo na dveshti na kankshati nirdvandvo hi mahabaho sukhang bandhat pramuchyate. Geya sa nitya sanyasi yo na dveshti na kankshati nirdvandvo hi mahabaho sukhang bandhat pramuchyate. Prabhus, please. Geya sanitya sanyasi yo na dveshti na kankshati nirdvandvo hi mahabaho sukhang bandhat pramuchyate. Geya sa nitya sanyasi yo na dveshti na kankshati nirdvandvo hi mahabaho sukham bandhat pramuchyate. Geya sanitya sanyasi yo na dveshti na kankshati nirdvandvo hi mahabaho sukhang bandhat pramuchyate. Geya sa nitya samyasi yo na dveshti na kankshati nirdvandvo hi mahabaho sukham bandhat pramuchyate. Word for word, please repeat. Geya should be known. Sa he. Nitya always. Sannyasi renouncer. Yah who. Na never. Dveshti abhors. Na nor. Kankshati desires. Nirdvandvaha free from all dualities. He certainly. Mahabaho O mighty armed one. Sukham happily. Bandhat from bondage. Pramuchyate is completely liberated. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Abhacharya Vrindam Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. One who neither hates nor desires the fruits of his activities is known to be always renounced. Such a person, free from all dualities, easily overcomes material bondage and is completely liberated, O mighty armed Arjuna. Purport. One who is fully in Krishna consciousness is always a renouncer because he feels neither hatred nor desire for the results of his actions. Such a renouncer, dedicated to the transcendental loving service of the Lord, is fully qualified in knowledge because he knows his constitutional position in his relationship with Krishna. He knows fully well that Krishna is the whole and that he is part and parcel of Krishna. Such knowledge is perfect because it is qualitatively and quantitatively correct. The concept of oneness with Krishna is incorrect because the part cannot be equal to the whole. Knowledge that one is one in quality, yet different in quantity, is correct transcendental knowledge, leading one to become full in himself, having nothing to aspire to or lament over. There is no duality in his mind because whatever he does for Krishna. Being thus freed from the platform of dualities, he is liberated, even in this material world. Om Jnanatimrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tatati Svabadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parichana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Behevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatade Shatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. It's a really nice verse we have to talk about today, about renunciation and about desire and hatred. But to go into a story just before we dive into that, and before we go into the story, I'd like to ask for blessings from all the seniors here and all the seniors online, to be able to say something of value, to purify myself and to glorify Krishna and his devotees. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak. So there was one disciple of Srila Prabhupada, and he was distributing Back to Godhead magazine. This is in the early 70s. And he's in Florida, USA, and he's really eager, as they were in those times, to distribute pure love of Krishna, to spread the movement far and wide. In the beginning of Krishna consciousness, that's how we also feel. We're going to take over the world. So they had a lot more because Srila Prabhupada is directly guiding them. That kind of enthusiasm kicks in. So he's very, very enthusiastic. Oh, okay. Thank you. So this devotee, he's really enthusiastic, and he's on the streets. And as he's going out on book distribution, he unfortunately gets stopped by a police officer. And police officer stops him, and police officer comes out from the car and drives him immediately. No questions asked. There's no questions from him. There's no questions from the police officer. It was almost like just a simultaneous automatic thing. You're distributing Krishna consciousness, I'm going to put you in jail. Maybe the police officer had some inclination that this happened a lot in those times and in that same place. So the police car went back, and he got his new home, his private cell. And in those, and he was locked up for 36 hours. So we can imagine how it would feel also. So in those days, the devotees would be who's in charge of the Sankirtan, they would supply little candy bars that are offered to Krishna to all the devotees to eat in their spare time whenever they feel hungry. So all this devotee had in jail was a lot of candy bars. And they used to go, not just, those candy bars were to give to street public. They weren't, I don't know if they were eating them. So this devotee had candy bars with him. And he didn't eat any jail food, he had the candy bar. And he used to use these candy bars also to chant his rounds. He used to take little nuggets or nibbles off this candy bar, and every time he did one round, he used to move one, or he used to chant on his fingers, but every time he did one round, he put one little crumb of candy from his side of the bed to the foot side of the bed. And that's how he would count 16 rounds. Because there was nothing in those in the jail. He didn't eat any food, but he had that candy bar, as I also mentioned. And and he had a lot of time available, so he actually wrote an essay, and the essay was called "Which Side of the Bars Are You On?" And it's obviously he's getting realizations in the prison cell. He feels like the entire world is behind prison bars, and although he's in prison, he feels the liberated one. He feels like he's free. And he mentions that he feels very happy, even to be doing this time in jail. He says that Amarendra Prabhu, the temple president, came to pick him up, and he just happily went back to his service. But he feels he's happy to do this austerity on behalf of Srila Prabhupada for the benefit of the mission. So that's his mood, even though he's in jail. So he wasn't stressed out, but he was rather feeling ecstatic. This is the kind of mood to have, and I think this relates very nicely with the verse. Just to go over it one more time. He who neither hates nor desires the fruits of his activities is known to be always renounced. Such a person, free from dualities, easily overcomes material bondage and is completely liberated, O mighty armed Arjuna. So he's behind prison bars. He's just in a confused state, or was in a confused state by being taken from the streets to the jail. But he is free from these dualities of pain, suffering, happiness, distress. In the same way, Krishna is trying to instill this mood in Arjuna currently. Arjuna has just heard Transcendental Knowledge, chapter 4, and it's the beginning of chapter 5, and the first question Arjuna asks is, should he perform jnana, should he renounce activity, should he do jnana, or should he perform his duty, karma? So jnana or karma, he's asking Krishna. And so Krishna starts to answer the question, what is better, work of renunciation, or renunciation of work in renunciation, or renunciation of work? No, that doesn't make sense. Work or renunciation. Let's just leave it at that. I was trying to be clever. Okay, so while I was going over this purport, I was also thinking that Srila Prabhupada is mentioning such knowledge of Krishna being part and parcel of him, or one who knows that he is part and parcel of Krishna. Such knowledge is perfect because it is qualitatively and quantitatively correct. So while I was reading this, I was thinking in the entirety of Srila Prabhupada's books, we hear 5 questions being answered all the time. In the beginning of my Krishna consciousness, I got attracted to this word, Brahma Jigyasa. Like, these cool questions we can answer, and then we can get all the ideas, and finally we'll be realized. And then I heard, okay, there's actually 5 questions in this Brahma Jigyasa category, at least from that day I heard. Who am I? Who is God? Where are we? What is our relationship with God? And the fifth question is how to re-establish that relationship with God. So the entirety of all Srila Prabhupada's books are talking and answering about these 5 questions again and again, instilling that knowledge in us. So the result of knowing that perfect knowledge, which is qualitatively and quantitatively correct, offers 2 things. It offers devotional service to Krishna. When you know that Krishna is God, you have a relationship with him. When the small, minute jiva particle is introduced to the supreme whole, the absolute truth, naturally the head goes forward. It bows down in surrender, naturally, because it can see, wow, I'm nothing compared to this great personality. That's the definition of humility. The head just bows down. So, and then as soon as that surrender happens, devotional service starts to kick in. Of course, there may be awe and reverence in the beginning, great almighty, but then devotional service begins. As we know, Shanta, then Dasya. But the result of knowing these 5 questions from reading Srila Prabhupada's books is also that we are free from dualities. So that's also what the purport is saying. There is no duality in his mind, because whatever he does for Krishna. Because he knows complete knowledge, now he knows how to act. There's an example by Paramakurna Prabhu. I like to refer to it all the time. How if you have the right knowledge, then you know how to act. There was one Sangha he went to, one house program. And at the end of this house program, he gave out this paper plate. And paper plates, many of them, as many as there were people at that event. And he put this yellow liquid on that paper plate, and then he handed it to everyone. And they were thinking, well, maybe it's Mahaprasad, maybe it's like something to eat or drink. So they all were experimenting what to do with this paper plate and what to do with this yellow liquid. So he was just watching them, being very confused. And after a certain time, he said, "This is soap." Even after the people were licking it and putting it in different places and, experimenting, what is this, examining it. Then after, he said, "This is soap. This is body soap." So then they were able to understand, okay, now I know how to utilize this item, because I have the knowledge, now I know how to act. I'm not going to act like a fool and put it in my mouth. So similarly, when we know Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we are his eternal servitors, and we can never be quantitatively one with him, then we know how to act in devotional service. So thus, devotional service begins. And as mentioned, there's no more dualities, and I'll come to that in just a second. In Srila Prabhupada's purports, he emphasizes the fact that dualities arise because of 2 things only. And these 2 things are desire and hate. Na dveshti, na kangshati. Dveshti is abhors. I don't know what that means anyway. I think it looks like hate. And kangshati, desires, hankers. So these two words are not spiritual. They're material. Materially hating, materially desiring. So maybe we can use just this moment to go over. I think each one of you can mention a type of duality that you remember or you have understood that is existing in this material world. For example, up and down, left and right. So maybe Pada Prabhu, name a duality, please, Prabhu. Hot and cold. Machash Prabhu, please say a duality. High and low. Very close to my one. Srinivas Prabhu, please. Envy and love. Okay? Maybe contradictory to some people, love and hatred, but envy and love. Actually, maybe we can have another class from Srinivas Prabhu about envy and love. Daniel Prabhu, please say something. 2 opposites in the material world: up, down, left, right, black, white. What are 2 opposites you can think of? Hot and cold. We'll give him that one. Ashish Prabhu, name a duality.
Boy and girl.
Boy and girl, easy. Mother, father. So there's simple dualities we can see in everyday life, and then there's intricate metaphysical realities that we can't see. Black and white, it's general. Peace and war, honor and dishonor. I like this one, curses and favors. Sometimes in the Bhagavatam, Narad Muni curses many different personalities. And he curses them in such a way that he favors them devotional service by allowing them to be liberated at the end of their curse. For example, Nalukavera and Manigriv, for example. He curses them, but he says, okay, you're going to be delivered by Krishna at the end. Love and hate, not to contradict your one. Success and failure. Good and bad. Misery and happiness. So these are generally what is described in Srila Prabhupada's purports as the general dualities of this material world. And because the devotee has no connection, no desire or hatred, no perspective that this is good, this is bad, just by having that perspective of equipoised equilibrium in the material world, never desiring, never hating, never thinking I need to be honored or I'm dishonored, then Srila Prabhupada says, this person, this devotee, he is liberated even in the material world. Liberated means free from the material bondage, even though he is in the material world. So there's a few personalities we know who have voluntarily accepted tribulations. Can you name a few examples of personalities who voluntarily accepted difficulties?
The famous one is Srila Prabhupada, isn't it?
Srila Prabhupada, yeah. Srila Prabhupada came to USA, the hell on earth, in the Bowery, and people were pissing and squabbling and drinking and drugging everywhere around him. Trying to keep a pure mentality around such a atmosphere is terrible. Any others?
What do you mean by just taking austerities? Dhruva Maharaj?
Dhruva Maharaj, yeah. Dhruva Maharaj, for getting a kingdom, he took on a lot of austerity, and in that way he also saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But devotees like Jesus Christ accepted a lot of tribulations, and he knew that he would suffer if he carried on preaching. Similarly with Lord Nityananda. Carried on preaching to Madai and Jagai and Madai. I got that correct. And he knew it was going to come out as a difficult situation. He ended up getting thrown at pot clay, thrown at his head. He was bleeding. He knew things were going to go wrong, but he accepted tribulations, and in the end he gave the mercy to them in the end. So this is also connecting to the verse. Such a person is free from dualities. He neither hates nor desires the fruits. You go out on Sankirtan, you go out on different services. You can think of the services that you individually do, and the result of that service, of course we want it to be a good service, but if it doesn't turn out to be a good service, we should understand, okay, well, I tried my best. I tried my best. In Krishna consciousness, we look at the attitude, not the ability so much. But in the material world, we look at the ability and not their attitude. There was one person who went to an interview, and he had amazing ability, great qualifications, but when he came through the door, he left the door open. And the interviewer saw this. This door is terrible. That's a different story. I'll try and fix that in a second. And then the second person had little qualification, little ability, but when he came through the door, he was like David Prabhu, pushing it nice and slowly back in place, greeting the interviewer nicely. So the interviewer saw, okay, because he has the right attitude, he has the potential to learn even more than the person with the great ability. So this is the kind of attitude that we have in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, let me try my best. Let me try and serve Krishna. Let me not worry, or let me not desire the profit of my activities. Let me not regret if I don't have the right result at the end. No books went out today, for example. No one attended my Bhagavad Gita class. I did so much effort, and no one attended. Thank you for attending, but no one attended. So the result of that activity. Similarly, like we still get our salary by Krishna because we have, or trying to have, the right attitude. Not dependent on how many customers we get that day, or how many books we sell that day. We at least get our salary because we're doing it for Krishna. So our salary will still come in, even though our results may be different. So that's what we can rely on. Maybe I did japa and I fell asleep, Maybe I was inattentive the whole time. Okay, Krishna, let me try harder next time. Let me try harder next time. Let me try harder next time. But there's no hating. There's no material desire. I have to be advanced tomorrow. There's lobha, but then there's healthy lobha also. So, to finish off, I know it's running a little late, and I'll finish and get some questions also. But we don't hate anything in Krishna consciousness. We don't hate cleaning toilets. The thing that people hate, apparently, in the material world is putting themselves in a humble position. Maybe cleaning someone's shoes or cleaning up vomit. But we don't hate cleaning toilets. We love cleaning toilets. When we come to Krishna consciousness, before I came to Krishna consciousness, I hated feet. People in my company, my friends used to bully me, and every time they had a prank, not just a prank, but even a dare, they would say, you have to touch my foot, you have to lick my foot. But when I come to Krishna consciousness, I don't mind. I really don't mind. I don't mind, because we understand this is the way to go back to Godhead, through the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada and his pure devotees. It's a duality. I don't like feet, I do like feet. It's like, but we don't hate. So that's just a small example. We don't even hate atheists nor Mayavadis. We hate the mentality. We hate the sin, but not the sinner. But whatever can be used in Krishna consciousness, we try and yukta viragya. We learn about this from Srila Prabhupada's books, yukta viragya. Let's use everything. We don't hate money. Let's use money for Krishna. Let's buy lots of flowers. Let's buy everything. We don't even hate suffering. And some devotees are very happy to suffer a lot. Tattenukampam susumikshamano bunjana evatma kritam vipakam. When a devotee is in a condition of so-called distress, he considers it a gift or blessing from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When a devotee is always thus situated in Krishna consciousness, in any condition of life he is described as mukti pade sadaya bhak, a perfect candidate for returning home back to Godhead. So this is our mentality to try and build, equipoised, to have better attitude in Krishna consciousness, and realizing that Krishna is the ultimate controller. We can't hate anyone. Krishna is inside their hearts. He is controlling everything that is going on. So how can we hate anything that's happening? How can we despise it? There's a lovely quote Prabhupada always says in his class: whatever you're going through right now in Krishna consciousness is exactly what Krishna wants you to go through. So with that understanding, do it with your full attention. Do it with your full attention. No desire, no hate. That's just a formula for peace in Krishna consciousness. Anyway, I'll stop here. Thank you so much for hearing me. And yeah, I'll use that example from Prayojan Prabhupada as a conclusion. That's the peace formula. That is the way to accept our situation right now, even in the material world, in the spiritual world. That's what Krishna wants us to go through to learn the next lesson. So let me do it with my full attention. Let me desire only to please Krishna. Anya bilashita shunyam jnana karmadyanavritam anukulyana krishnanu shilanam bhaktiruttama. When first class devotional service is performed, one must be free from all material desires. knowledge obtained by monistic philosophy, and fruit of action. The devotee must constantly serve Krishna favorably as Krishna desires. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for your class, Prabhu. You mentioned about humility, that naturally when we see...
I don't think it's working.
I'll speak loudly. Naturally when we get to know Krishna, we see his greatness, then our head bows. This is humility is a natural position. But at the same time we hear that humility is necessary to get to that stage of seeing Krishna. And this is what I struggle with a little bit, and even the qualities here mentioned about, not desiring or hating. It seems like these are the necessary qualities that we need in order to get these qualities. So, particularly the aspect of humility. How can we sort of externally, sort of superficially practice it or whatnot before it comes naturally? Or how? Do you maybe elaborate?
It's a really good question. The question is, just as you need humility to be able to see Krishna, but when you see Krishna you also become humble, knowing his great position, then to neither hate nor desire anything, you also need to be able to practice not hating or desiring anything. So the question is it okay to practice humility artificially or superficially and hope the result comes to us? Is that the question? Have I understood you correctly?
More, it seems like it's a closed circle. That from humility we can see Krishna, and from seeing Krishna we can become humble. But how do we get first into that circle?
It's a lovely question. So, yeah, it's the same question. So the question is rather, how do we get into the circle of humility? It reminds me of how we get in the circle of bhakti. And similarly with bhakti, you practice it, and then you also, in the spiritual world, it still goes on. So we get pure love of Krishna by practicing pure love of Krishna. We do the same things as we're doing now in the spiritual world. Prema Bhakti Yoga, what we're practicing now, we'll be doing the same thing. We're chanting Hare Krishna now, we'll be doing the same thing. So then how do you enter into this cycle? You're basically saying, you're humble now, you'll be humble there, kind of thing. It's a good question. Maharaj answered this question maybe in the first couple of weeks I was in the manor. He said, and I love this, any quality you want, you have to associate with the devotee who has it. If you want bhakti, you have to associate with the bhakta. And by his mercy, because only he gives you Krishna Prem. Krishna doesn't give Krishna Prem. By associating with him, then if he likes you, and if he's merciful, because the Madhyamadikari has to discriminate, then you enter the cycle. So you see this devotee, he has lovely, lovely qualities. Grab his association. That's why in the beginning of Krishna consciousness, we're recommended spend time with the senior devotees as much as possible. Get a really strong core or foundation of Krishna consciousness. Serve swamis. Serve senior devotees in the manor. And their qualities, just as when we go closer to a fire, we become hot. If we go close to a really humble person, they will break us down. We will become humble also. So association gives qualities. Association gives bhakti. Association gives desire to serve Krishna. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it was really good. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for the class, Prabhu. It's really nice. You mentioned that the verse actually mentions that we should neither desire or hate, but the natural tendency of the soul is to have desires. The soul naturally just desires. So, how do we apply that practically in our lives, where just naturally the soul desires to do something or just anything? So, how do we see that?
It's a really good question. Srila Prabhupada says if we say in Krishna consciousness we're supposed to be desireless, or people say, oh my God, you have no desires. Srila Prabhupada said if you're desireless, you're basically dead. Every jiva has a desire. But when the desire is, as we know, there's two birds. There's two birds in the heart. One bird is us, one bird is Krishna. When the desire has, or it's contaminated in such a way that we are trying to enjoy ourselves, looking away from Krishna, who's just behind us, as a bird, overseer, Paramatma. If our desires are away from Krishna, that's not what devotees do. So that's the desire, which it's saying one should neither desire or hate. That's the desire away from Krishna. Srila Prabhupada says, to be desireless is to desire only to serve Krishna's desires. So practically it is desireless, because you're not having any desire other than to please someone else's desires. So you're desireless, because you're going on his desire. So that's facing towards Paramatma. And that's the desire that makes us materially desireless. So we just have to shift our consciousness and we can get the right desire. I hope that helps. Yeah? Yeah? Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.